Hi everyone, it's Allison. This is just a little mini practice that is hopefully a pretty well balanced, kind of all body focus. We will be doing a little work with shoulders, so you will need a strap or like a robe sash or a dog leash or something like that. So have that available to you. And go ahead and begin in a child's pose. So we're going to work into this flow that if you've been in my classes recently, you've probably been practicing along with me. If you haven't seen this first piece, go ahead and watch the video first. So we're going to start from this child's pose position, and the hands are outstretched in front. Now, you can make your way up to all fours. Let's do this a few times. So we're just going to rise on the breath in and come back on the breath out. Just kind of getting used to this general forward and back. And the part I'm going to have you emphasize on the last couple here is that when you come forward, allow there to be a slight lift of the chest as if off of the upper arms. In fact, can you feel that the chest and the arms are not the same thing? Which some days feels like a little magic trick. All right, let's try it one more time. A little lift of the chest, like you're trying to lift out of your shoulders a little bit. And then you can come back. Okay, so this next piece, this is what I call a reverse cobra. So I'm going to come up, my knees were a bit wide, I'm going to bring them underneath my hips. Okay, I'm going to make sure that my hands are out in front of the line of my shoulders. So if you get stuck on this next one, it might mean that your hands are too far back. Okay, now I'm going to come into cobra from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to slowly roll my way forward. And I'm going to try to get as much of the lower thigh to touch the ground as possible. Then I'm going to try to get my middle thigh and my upper thigh and my pelvis. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm basically in a cobra. My elbows are going to point straight back. My chest is going to shine forward. And I just kind of iron my body down. So it's like bottom to top. Now, once you're there, you can find a little lift, just a baby cobra, pulling back with elbows, once again letting the breastbone kind of shine forward. And as you exhale, come on back. Now to transition back into a child's pose, see if you can keep the shoulders moving away from your ears. You can tuck your chin slightly and imagine you're going to puff the fronts of the ribs up from the ground to bring you to all fours and back for child's pose. And every time I do this, I kind of move around the room. So now I'm further back than when I started. Let's do that a few times. So we're going to rise up. The hands are in front of the shoulders. You're going to wave your way down. Now the whole time, see if you can let the front body kind of iron down to the floor as you stay separate between chest and arms. Okay, and I'll explain what I mean next go around. When you lift up, you can lift for a cobra as you inhale. So it's like a waving, peeling back from top to bottom. And a lowering down, waving back down, bottom to top. Now when you come back up, tuck the chin slightly. Imagine you're going to puff the fronts of the ribs up from the ground, push with the hands, and come back for child's pose. All right, piece of cake. Let's do that a couple more times. Now, this is a way that you can really start to build some, not only mobility, right, through the spine, but strength through the back of the arms and the upper back. So as you're waving back down, see if instead of letting your shoulders hover forward, if you can really let your shoulder blades, lower tips of the shoulder blades slide toward each other so that your chest is open, 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 open. And then your head comes down. And then we wave up from the top to the bottom. So I imagine like sternum peeling up, front of belly peeling up, waving back down from the bottom to the top. And then to come up, we keep the elbows pulling back. Right? They might turn out a little bit, but they're pulling back from the ears. Puff up with the fronts of the ribs and come up and back to child's pose. Let's do the whole thing once more. Okay. And allow this to be as wavy as possible. Now I'm having to move my hands every time. You might find you have to do the same, creating this like wavy, rolly, slow motion descent into cobra. And then you're going to come back up as if peeling the top of the sternum, then the bottom of the sternum, the top of the belly, the bottom of the belly, and then laying everything back down from the bottom to the top. Okay, now to come back, once again, you can kind of puff up, with the fronts of the ribs. So what I mean by that is you're peeling the fronts of the ribs from the ground, letting that bring you up and back, child's pose. Rest there, any arm variation, right? If you feel like, hey, I'm just getting started, then do more of those. Do more of the reverse cobras. But after a little momentary visit there in child's pose, you can come up and give a little release or a shake out to your hands. Okay, I've got one more kind of fun roly-poly thing, except this is now side to side. So all this is going to get us ready for a really nice shoulder release to come. I'm going to show you this from the side, and then I'll turn to face you. And again, if you've been in my class recently, you've probably been doing this a lot. Okay. So my legs are out in front. They're wider than my sitting bone distance apart, and they're pretty straight, and my feet are flexed. And all of that is just to make sure I don't do this next movement from my ankles. I'm going to do it from my legs and from my hips. Now I'm going to turn to my left side. When I do, I'm going to let my right seat, my right glute come off of the floor. My right hip is all the way off the floor. I'm on the outside of my left leg. My feet have turned, and I'm going to keep turning behind me. Right? I'm going to come to my palms. Now this looks like a push-up. What I don't want you to do is to lower to your forearms or you're going to get stuck. The push-up is actually more about the twist in the waist. So you're going to bend your elbows straight back like you're kissing the ground, and that's you twisting through your waist. Okay? For some bodies, this will be easier to let your top leg float. That would just give you a little wiggle room. So if keeping the foot anchored is a lot, let the leg float, kiss the ground, come back up. Now to come to the starting position, you're going to bring your leg to the floor, you're going to bring your pelvis to the floor, and you face forward, and then you touch either your knees, your shins, your toes, and you change sides. Okay? Let's try it. This is another one of those that you will be moving around the floor, so you're not confined by your mat, right? Let's do it. Let's come forward, touch whatever you can, your shins, your toes, your feet, your neighbor, whatever. And then let's turn to the right side. So you turn to the right, your left hip is going to come off of the floor. You're going to bring your hands back behind you, bend your elbows. Maybe your left leg floats, but as you bend, you're twisting. So you're bringing the chest toward the floor. Then you're going to untwist, come back to center, and you're facing forward, touch forward. Turn to the left, and we're going to keep that going. Now start to find a groove with this. So I'm going to pick up the pace a bit. So it's as if I'm exhaling to turn and inhaling to unturn. Let it be as kind of fluid and as smooth as you can. And I'll just talk you through some nuances as you keep this going. So if you find that you're feeling too much or you're getting a little stuck, let your back leg lift. You can also take your hands further to the outside, so it's not so much of a twist, right? If you find you want more, right? Keep your back leg on the floor, keep your back foot on the floor, and as you turn, maybe you bring your hands further behind you. That's going to deepen the twist. So I'll say that again. You want less, hands just straight to the outside. You want more, hands further behind you, like in the vertical space. Okay. You're finding this groove. Let's do one more to each side. And again, if you find that you're just getting going, keep it going. That's fine with me. It's the cool thing about videos. You can just pause and let this be your day. Okay, but after you've given a little shot to both sides, we should feel some more energy through the spine and shoulders and hands for sure. And this is going to bring us into our cow's face entrance. So I'm going to bring my feet in, and I'm going to come to a kneel. That's really comfortable for me. I prefer it to sitting cross-legged, but if you would like to sit, feel free to sit. If you want to stand, stand. We're just going to work with the shoulders. So this is where I'm going to have a strap available, and in fact, I'm going to get it ready, and I'm going to put it over my right shoulder. Okay, and I'm just going to bring my arms behind me. So actually, before we bring them behind us, let's turn the palms to face back. Let your biceps turn a little bit in, and we're going to bring our arms behind us so that the left forearm is stacked on top of the right. Okay. This is one of those, underrated shoulder exercises that just looks simple. Spend letting the forearms kind of melt into your back body, right? And hold there. I'm just going to show you something. So rather than thinking your elbows forward or back, imagine your elbows are actually just sliding sort of inward toward the middle line of your body. Keep some attention at your left shoulder and see if you can stay a bit soft there. You're welcome to stay with this. The next option is to just deepen what you're doing through the left. So you'd bring your your hand up toward your right scapula. And then possibly you come into the cow's face. So you would take your right arm up so the palm faces back. And then you'd bend your elbow and maybe you catch hands. If not, you have a strap there. Right? Now we're going to hold and I'm going to turn around to talk you through some of the nuances in the front plane. Right? So as you hold here, whether you're standing or seated or kneeling, see if you can relax through your pelvis. So try to avoid any kind of tuck or grip there. And see if you can relax the back of your ribs so they're softening toward your back arm at the same time that your back arm is softening toward your back ribs. Let your head rest right on top of the center of your spine. And then final little nuance here. So stay breathing. Imagine that you are lengthening your triceps of the upper arm. Like you're trying to lengthen the underside of the arm up. And imagine that your bottom elbow is softening down. So it's a general drawing away of each other of the two elbows. Okay, we're going to take another easy breath. And you can release top arm, release bottom arm, keep it pretty close to you as you just slide it away. And of course, feel the effects, rush of blood, tingling, right? All that is kind of part of the cow's face. Let's switch sides. So if you're using a strap, switch it over to your left. That's where I have my microphone, so I'm going to skip the strap on that one. And then bring your arms by your sides so the palms face back and turn your biceps so they face a little bit in. Now we're going to start with that piece of bringing the arms behind, this time with the right arm on top of the left. Okay, and spend a few cycles of breath in that phase, imagining that your elbows, if anything, are moving in more than they are moving back. And I'm even imagining like my right shoulder and my right arm is just getting a bit heavier. So give yourself a few breaths to let go there through any hold of your. You might stay or you might deepen this by bringing your hand toward your opposite scapula. Okay, and then you take your left arm up, the palm can face back, and then maybe you gather fingers. Or again, if not, you can hold your strap. And we'll take a few cycles of breath with attention to all those same points. So your pelvis, try to soften through your glutes. Let the backs of your ribs melt toward your forearm and let your forearm melt toward the backs of your ribs. And then see if you can lengthen your left tricep, right? So you can stay in this. I'm just going to point it out. So like you're trying to lengthen through the underside of that arm. The elbow has a tendency to want to drop or turn out. So imagine you're lengthening the underarm kind of straight up toward the ceiling. And it's just that general lifting up of the top elbow and softening down of the bottom elbow. Head right on top of the spine. Let's take another full breath. And then you can release top arm, bottom arm. Okay. And then find a position that you can rest into for a few moments. So you might just stay seated, kneeling. You might lay onto your back and give yourself a shavasana. Do give yourself some time just to feel the effects of this practice. Hopefully you have some more life in your shoulders and your spine and in your back. Thanks for trying the video, and I'll see you in the next one.